Hi everyone, and welcome to the first issue of Bag and Board for 2018. It is actually the first issue of Bag and Board that I've done for well over a year, and there is a good reason for this. The last video I did, I think was January 2017, and I kind of did it as a big fanfare that it was going to be the return of Bag and Board, because prior to that I'd not done a video again for quite a long time. And I was planning on doing a big relaunch and going to do regular videos again, but unfortunately last year for me was dogged by health issues. To cut a long story short, for most of the year I was in quite a lot of pain. I developed a problem with my right knee, and it resulted in me having knee surgery at the end of November. But unfortunately, for virtually the whole of last year, I was in constant pain. And if you've ever been in a situation like that, where you're just in pain all the time, it's very difficult to have the kind of incentive and motivation to do anything. I was working full time and I never took a day off work during that whole period. So when I wasn't at work, I was basically just very tired and resting. Anyway, I don't want to go on about that, but that's basically the reason why, apart from that reintroduction video at the start of last year, there's been absolutely no activity on my channel. But this video is intended to be, again, a kind of a soft relaunch for my channel. I'm really keen now to get back into doing the YouTube thing, now that I'm feeling a lot better. And what I thought I'd do as kind of a gentle introduction once again, and hopefully to get people who have stayed subscribed to my channel, which I thank everybody for if you have stayed subscribed. What I'm going to do is basically show you some things really that I got. Firstly, things that I got for Christmas. I know we're at the end of February, but I got quite a lot of comic related geeky stuff as Christmas presents, so I thought it'd be quite nice to show you those. Also, I want to show you a couple of things that I've got from the works, and if you're not from the UK and you're not familiar what the works is, I'll explain a bit about that later on. And then I'll finish off by showing you some slightly more unusual comic books that I've picked up over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Okay. So what I'll do, first of all, I'll show you the bits and pieces that I got for Christmas. Most of this stuff was from my wife. I'll start off with Blu-rays and then I'll move on to books. So starting with Blu-rays, first thing I got was Future Shock, the 2000 AD story. If you've not seen this, it's a really, really brilliant film. Particularly if you've got any interest in 2000 AD, which obviously is probably the most famous British comic of all time, and is still going strong after over 2,000 issues. And basically what this is, it's a 2-hour documentary which tells the story of 2000 AD from its humble beginnings right through to the present day, and it's told through the eyes of many of the people who started the company, or who started off working there before they went on to bigger things, working for US comic companies. Really, really good. I can't stress strongly enough that if you've not seen this, it's a brilliant view. And the good thing about if you buy the Blu-ray, and I think it might be the same with the DVD, is that there is a second disc and it is absolutely crammed with extra pieces, extended interviews. There's one interview I think that runs to around about an hour, and I can't really... Oh, that's with Pat Mills, who's one of the original founders of 2000 AD, and that's like about an hour and a half long. But there's lots and lots of other interviews and bits and pieces on there, so it's a really, really great view. It'll certainly fill up a good Saturday evening's viewing. Now, something else that I've only recently got into is some of the DC animated movies, what in the past I would have called cartoons. it was something really that never held that much of an interest for me. I must admit, I've never been, I don't know why, I've never been a massive fan of animated films. But I've recently started watching some of them, and I found them to be quite good, the ones that I've seen. Anyway, I got a couple of these for Christmas, and it's these two. The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. I'm a massive fan of the Dark Knight graphic novel, and from what I read, the animated films here, I don't know why they split it into two parts, but from what I've heard, what I've read, these actually stay quite true to the original graphic novel. I've not watched them yet, but I'm really looking forward to watching those. And again, these contain a small selection of extra features, which obviously, if you're interested in that kind of thing, are interesting to watch. So that's those two. Something else that I must admit I've only recently started taking much of an interest in is the DC television series that are now well into the 4th and 5th series. I started watching The Flash quite recently, and I'm about halfway through the first season. I can hear the peals of laughter around the place, you know, that I'm so far behind with this. But like I say, I hadn't really taken much of an interest until recently. So I'm working my way through the first series, and for Christmas I got the second series. So I'm really enjoying it actually, and I feel a bit angry with myself that I didn't really get into this sooner, because I do enjoy it. It's easy watching, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And similarly, something that I've not started watching yet, but I'm looking forward to, is The Legends of Tomorrow. And I think, again, this is probably onto the 3rd series at the moment. But again, I've not even watched series 1 yet, so I've got a lot of viewing to do. I also, for Christmas, and this was all stuff that my wife bought me, I don't know whether I mentioned that. She knows the kind of stuff that I like, so she buys good stuff on the whole. The Wonder Woman movie, which I saw at the cinema, thoroughly enjoyed it, really, really good. And I think it is definitely the best so far of probably a pretty subpar collection of DC movies. But this I thought was terrific, really enjoyed it. Something that didn't really particularly go down well with a lot of the comic book community was this one, Suicide Squad. I thought it was okay. I did think it was incredibly rushed, the way that the characters were introduced. It seemed as though it was quite poorly edited. But there were one or two bits of it that I liked. I didn't particularly like the Joker. I didn't think he was a very good character. Maybe if they'd been given time to maybe explore that character a bit more, it might have been better. But he was very sparsely used through the film. But I've got all the Blu-rays of the DC films going back to the original Christopher Reeve Superman, so I didn't really want to break my run. I was always intending to get a copy of this anyway, so I was pleased to get one. It completes my my set so far. So that's basically the movies, Blu-rays kind of side of things that I got for Christmas. So I'll move on to the books. And firstly, Batman: The Dark Knight Master Race. This is not something that I picked up in single issues. And to be honest, these mini-series, I find more often than not that they turn out to be quite disappointing. So in the past I always used to avidly pick up the mini-series and the kind of what they describe as the event kind of books that we get during the summer. So in the main, I've stopped picking those up now in single issues, although I have made an exception for the recent DC series that they've done, which has been quite good, with the different Batmans that they've brought into it. But I do like to pick up these series in hardcovers in trade collections, so I was really happy to get that one. I've not read it yet, obviously it's still in its plastic here, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the other, the book that my wife got me for Christmas, and this was actually the one thing that I'd specifically asked for, because she did say to me, is there anything that you do particularly want for Christmas? And I had specified this, and it is the Darkseid War, or Darkside War Saga Omnibus, which I really, really wanted. I do actually have the whole of this in single issues, but I think with something like this, it's nice to have everything in one place, where you can just go to read it. And it does collect, let's see, Justice League, and this is from the New 52 run, obviously, Justice League issues 40 to 50, the Justice League Darkside War Special number 1, Divergence number 1, and all 6 of the one-shot tie-ins. So it's quite a thick, heavy book there. I have read this, but not this collection. I've read the single issues, but it'll be nice to read it in a slightly bigger format than the usual regular comic size. So I was happy to get that. Right, I mentioned at the start of this video about this thing called the Works, which, if you're not UK based, or if you're not in a town in the UK that has one, you might not be familiar with it. But it's actually basically a discount bookstore, which I'm not quite sure how they get the stock, whether it's returns that go back to publishers that then they're trying to get rid of cheaply, or how they get the stock. But most of the stuff is really, really cheap, excellent pricing. They don't only sell books, they also sell like arts and crafts materials, that kind of thing, wrapping papers, greetings cards, and they also sell occasionally other types of geeky things that can be of interest to collectors, such as maybe like statues and that kind of stuff. Anyway, over the Christmas period, they were having an online sale, where in addition to the already cheap prices that they tend to do, they'd reduced everything by 20%. So it meant that there were a lot of good bargains to be had. So I ordered a couple of these online, because you never know whether the things that they've got online they're actually going to get in the individual stores in your local town. So what you can do is order them online to have them delivered to your local store and pick them up from there. So that's what I did. So what I got was this hardcover of Before Watchmen, Minutemen and the Silk Spectre. I know this Before Watchmen series in general wasn't overly popular with a lot of people, and I think I only actually picked up in singles the 4-issue Dr. Manhattan series, because I really like the Dr. Manhattan character, and also some of the covers were drawn by Adam Hughes, who I'm a bit of a fan of. But apart from that, I didn't really pick anything up. But from what I'd read, these Darwin Cook and Amanda Connor, and these seem to be the best received of all the series that they did within the Before Watchmen series, and a lot of people were kind of praising these particular stories. And this was actually reduced to £6, which is what, about $8 maybe. So for a decent sized hardback book, it was a no-brainer really, because I mean you'd pay that for maybe 2 single issues of comics. So I thought, even if it's not that good, it's worth a crack, and I can also, if I don't like it, I can try and sell it on. So I was happy to get that. Also, I'm not really a fan of Marvel anymore. I fell out of love with Marvel basically about 12 months ago. Wasn't happy with the way the stories were going. I wasn't happy really with the company in general, the direction it was taking. So what I did was I actually sold most of my kind of recent Marvel runs that I was collecting in terms of Uncanny X-Men and Amazing Spider-Man. What I've done is I've actually kept all my volume 1s of those series, and I'm now concentrating on, whenever I pick up any Marvel stuff, it's basically back issues of those runs to try and get as much of those runs as I can. And also I might pick up an occasional variant cover of a Marvel book, J. Scott Campbell, that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much it. I've got nothing of Marvel on my pull list. It's all DC or independent stuff. But if there's a collected edition going cheap that I can pick up from somewhere, then I'll usually take a punt on it. And that was the case with this omnibus that I got from the works. It's X-Men Operation Zero Tolerance. I'm a big fan of the X-Men. Like I mentioned, I am collecting the volume 1 of Uncanny X-Men. At the minute I'm particularly concentrating on the Claremont years. But I thought, this is originally a $75 omnibus, and I think in the UK it was going for around £60. At the works it was £20, but then with a 20% off it was £16 in total, which is what, about $20. So I thought for that price, even if I'm not overly enamoured of the story, which I don't know anything about, I'll give it a read, and if I don't like it I can always try and sell this on and try and recoup some of the money. But I do like my omnibuses, and I thought it'd be worth a try for that price. Right, the last things I want to show you in this relaunch video is a few single issues that I've picked up recently. The first ones are actually some German versions of DC Comics. I came across these purely by chance when I was just generally browsing eBay quite a while ago. Not sure if I was looking for Harley stuff or Wonder Woman stuff, and I actually saw these items that were being sold by German retailers that I didn't know anything about. The first of these is actually a free comic that was produced in Germany for their version of Free Comic Book Day. And this is Wonder Woman. It's a complete story, but obviously it's all written in German. But it's got this beautiful Gal Gadot cover, photographic cover there, which I think is really amazing. And I actually managed to get this for free as well, because if you bought anything from this particular German retailer, you could request to get any of the free books that they were giving away as part of their Free Comic Book Day. So I actually managed to get a few copies of this. Really, really nice. The other free one that I got was this Harley Quinn, which was, I believe, a free book they were doing when we had the recent Batman Day last year. And this was obviously Harley taking over Batman Day. But again, this is an amazing cover, cover swipe of The Killing Joke with the absolutely legendary Brian Bolland cover. And I think that's a really, really great cover there. These are all, by the way, produced by Panini Comics, who produce virtually all of the European reprints of American comics. They certainly produce the kind of compilation reprints that we get in the UK, and I know that they do produce a lot of the continental reprints as well in France and Germany in particular. So that's really nice. And then the other one, this was actually a book that I paid something for, which allowed me to get those other two for free. And I think I paid about €5 for this. and it's Wonder Woman Special #1. Again, this is a complete story, but it's all written in German. But again, it's got one of these really nice gal photographic covers on the front. So I think all of those three really are quite nice little additions to the collection. Something else I got recently, and I was really happy with the price I paid for this, was a copy of Justice League of America #10. And this was one of a series of convention exclusives that were produced last year. And obviously this was in the run-up to the release of the Justice League movie later on in the year. These are going for quite expensive prices. They're like a nice foil kind of cover, and the reason I picked this up was because the seller was only asking £10 for it, which is what, about $12–13. And I think the reason he was asking such a good price was because it does have some small spine ticks along here, but there's no breaking colour. And I think because of the material that's used to make these foil covers, I think it's quite a common problem with them. So I didn't have any issues with that, and I was quite happy to get this for £10. So again, a really nice cover there. Okay, the last three books I want to show you. I've kind of been inspired to try and pick these up by watching a recent video from Dr. Monkeybot. Now, if you don't subscribe to Dr. Monkeybot or you're not familiar with him, look him up on YouTube, because he's a great YouTuber. He does some fantastic haul videos. He's really into his pulp covers for paperback novels, and also he does great comic hauls, and he collects little figurines and toys, and he's a funny guy, and his videos are just really entertaining. So go check him out and throw him a subscribe, and you won't regret it. But he was actually showing off this particular issue that he'd picked up, and it's Alien Worlds #4 from 1983, and this has got a great cover by Dave Stevens. And when I saw this on Adam's video, I just absolutely love this cover. And when he mentioned that the full run of this was only, I think, 8 or 10 issues, I thought, I'm going to try and pick these up. And I started off with this one. And I think the reason I like these particular covers is that they're very reminiscent of kind of movie posters from the 1950s, the kind of War of the Worlds kind of posters. And I really like that. So anyway, I picked up this issue, and then subsequently I've managed to pick up issue #6. Again, a great cover. And also #8. And this is what I meant by kind of the War of the Worlds 1950s movie poster kind of vibe, which is just really good. So like I said, I mean, I've got 3 of those now, and I think there's only about maximum 7 more issues to collect. And I picked these up really cheap, a couple of pounds here and there, so they're no big deal. So really happy to get those. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and for those of you who've stayed subscribed to me for this past year despite the lack of content, I'm really grateful for that, and thanks ever so much. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, but please tell me why you didn't like it. If you're not subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. And again, thanks for watching, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, I'll have that video where I show you what I picked up in the 75% off sale. I've got a big fat stack of things from there to show you, so I'll get that all sorted out and together, and I'll get that up as soon as I can. So thanks for watching, have a great day, and take care until next time.